One of the things I think that a lot of people struggle with as we work towards a kind of dream is we idolize the dream too much. We think that once we achieve that dream, everything's going to be great, everything's going to be amazing. Once we have all this monetary wealth, that our life's going to be amazing and wonderful. And I think that it's very hard to really keep everything in perspective, but realize that not much is actually going to change. A lot of times we expect ourselves, once we become successful, to have everything that we ever wanted, all our problems to just disappear. But in reality, money doesn't fix a lot of the problems. A lot of times those problems that we want to be fixed magically are very deep rooted underlying problems that take a lot more than money to fix. In fact, they usually take a lot of time, kind of dedication, and energy to try to rebuild them, because oftentimes the things that money cannot fix are a lot of relationship related things. And so for those relationship related stuff, you can't really just have something just magically, fix that. You have to really put in a lot of time, you have to put in a lot of effort to actually improve that relationship. And that's the type of thing people want money and expect money to just fix all their problems, because at the end of the day, you see people who have money and you just glorify them, and you see 1% of their day and you just think, oh, because they have 1% of their day is amazing, then everything else must be amazing too. I'm walking right now in Palo Alto, and there's a lot of affluent kind of buildings and neighborhoods and families, but just because on the outside they look like they have a lot of money doesn't mean that there's actually internal fulfillment there. And I think that that's something a lot of people will not realize. They'll see all these expensive cars, kind of big houses, and luxury clothing, all of that, but they won't see what's going on underneath the surface. And that's something only the people in these houses will actually know. But in reality, the majority of people would never know that, and they would never even think about that. They would just assume that everything's much better. So I think my biggest takeaway from that is that be more grateful for what you have right now, because while your dream is amazing for sure, it's probably not as amazing as you think. And once you actually get there, there is going to be an inevitable feeling of letdown, of you realizing that, oh, this isn't as great as I thought it was. A lot of people who have become successful have talked about this, where initially they reached success, they had a good time or were happy for a couple days or a week or even maybe a month. But then after that, that feeling of happiness due to their success kind of faded, and they go back to more a baseline normal. And the reason they go back to this is because it's been shown in a lot of studies that a lot of our happiness comes from relationships and the people we're with, and those types of things that I mentioned before, money cannot buy. So if money cannot buy those things, when you have money, if you do already have those solid relationships and things that were making you happy before, then you'll also be happy. But if your relationships still have issues, money is not going to solve that. And you'll just be, a sad person who has a big house and nice cars, which, some people would want to have that, which is fine. But I'm just pointing out that a lot of times, so many people will idealize being successful. And, even me as well, I idealize it all the time. Just you'd like to daydream about it, you like to think everything's gonna be great, but that's not how reality works. Reality works is you being successful always comes at a price. And whether that price be time or kind of freedom or just your mental kind of clarity. I bet you a lot of these people who are super successful may have a lot of money, but do they really have the time to actually enjoy that money? That's a very good question, And I think that it's a question that most people don't really consider until they're actually already successful. And then it's a question they look back in hindsight with already having spent a good portion of their lives trying to become successful and a good amount of time to become successful, and they start to realize, was it really worth it all? Was it really worth whatever the time they put in or what kind of effort they put in? Because another big thing that successful people struggle with is that they can never get back time. A lot of young people now, hopefully if you're watching this, you still have some time, but the reality is that time is it's a super kind of fragile concept, and that it's going to disappear very quickly. And before you know it, we'll all be 40 years old or something like that, or even older, right? And we're not going to have much time left to really work on your dream. So that's why really each day you have to keep making progress towards it, because those days are going to go by so fast. And if you're not consciously making an effort to grow and improve, when you look back at 1 year, you're not going to really have changed much, which doesn't seem like a big deal. But after 1 year of not changing much, 5 years can pass, and your growth will really be stagnated. And for 5 years can easily turn into 10 years, and before you know it, you're like 40 something and you haven't really changed much from being like a 20-year-old. And I think that's the most scary thing, because then you start to feel time like slip out of your fingers, slip out of your control, and you realize you don't have much time left to really change anything.